Space, the final frontier. We all hear those inspiration words since the Star Trek beginning and NX-01 class series ever started. But when I was little, I watched the NX-01 series. Actually, I have not watched it. The only Star Trek I watched was Star Trek Lower Decks and Star Trek Prodigy. That's why I built this Star Trek inspiration ship. I call it USS Elkos, better than Star Trek any other ship. Well, predominantly better than Enterprise D. I still don't like that ship. But moreover that, this ship is heavily inspired from Star Trek Prodigy USS Protostar. The reason is simple: the Protostar drive. Protostar drive was the one of the predominant part of the USS Protostar. A protostar used to accelerate a warp speed which nobody can see, and that's why we love. If you see the design closely, then you can see it's entirely made by the lighter parts, and some sections are rusted because it was an old model and it was very old. The upfront sharp point thing is a sort of warp shield which can use when it accelerate, it use as the warp shield. So basically the thing is, when it accelerates in a warp speed and uses protostar drive, the uttermost front section of a ship got extremely heated. So that's why this metal thing is contain all the heat, so ship can accelerate fast. Whee! Whee! Okay, so now let's explain each part is made by. Okay, so let's explain each part made by what. So it's entire made by lighters, and its warp nusseles are made by USB drive. Actually, it's USB drive charging cable, USB drive charging cable, and its backside, it's actually a bottle cap of Fevikwik. If you see closely, it's it don't have traditional impulse engine. Instead, it use gaseous engines. The rocket one, which was a proof that this thing is a hybrid model of a USS Protostar and the starting era of NX-01. And if you see the slightly if you see the slightly left side of its hull, you can find a fin. This fin is used for aerodynamics. Indeed, in space you don't need aerodynamics, but it was a classical style in the late 21st century or early 20th century ship. It's just like a dream. Example, I'm talking about a sort of a fantasy example. For example, if Captain Arthur's father got the protostar drive, then indeed he will use this kind of model or this kind of design for his first starship. That's what I'm trying to say in my example. So now let's see how its belly button look like, the backside. So the backside is also pretty similar. This shiny metal piece that you seeing is indeed a part of a charging cable, the tip which used for charging port, insert in the charging port. But in this case, this thing is in this case, this metal thing is a impulse dish which we use for I don't know what they use for impulse dish, but overall this is the design. Now let's talk about weapon section. As you can see, this thing have this two front deck laser weapon system which was used for the early fighter jet design. In fighter design, a fighter design is indeed because it was an military design. You know, in space, the first ship you is go is usually a military vessel. Even the moon landing is the same thing, although we still hope the moon landing was fake because USSR, you know that. And overall, this is the design. So, see, this is the whole picture. So, this is the design. A modular scrap-builded design of USS Elkos, self-made name, heavily inspired from Star Trek Prodigy and Star Trek franchise. So, comment down what you think about this design, the video, the quality, and so on. And please have a like and subscribe the channel so I can show you the rest of my collection which I built in the last 5 years. Trust me, I have more bots, ships, and dragons in my inventory which I would like to discuss with you and show with you the story behind and why I built up. So please have a subscribe it.